and all that's yeah, I was,
that was
man,
early.
like,
That was early.
yeah, that was like
Teenage.
around 80, 87 when I got shot in the eye, 87, 88, you know, up there gang banging. We was funking against Fillmore, Sunnydale. Fillmore was like where JT, the bigger figure, rapping Forte, all in. We wasn't cool that one time, you know what I mean? We end up, you know, them like my brothers now, you know, but we wasn't cool. And it was real funk, you know, the Frisco Gang Wars was real funky back then.
So break it down to us, because some people up here, we from Ohio, so we rep side. So you from the north side, west side, east side. I know in LA, Crips and Bloods, stuff like that. So in y'all town, what is it?
It's neighborhoods like streets. Really, it's like projects. Like it's more like a district. Like Fillmore is a district, but in Fillmore, you might have Hayes Valley, Page Street, OC projects. It's different projects in that district. Hunters Point is a big old district. You got Harbor Road, where I'm from. Then you got Oakdale, where 11-5 and then was from. You got Double Rock. You got Kirkwood. It's a bunch of different projects up in there. So we all was together at one point in time, you know, Hunters Point. We all rep Hunters Point, but we had our neighborhoods that we repped, you know, within that within that district. So we used to be funky with Sunnydale and all them. And we used to get into fights, shootouts. And one day I was out there, you know, we had just beat up some dudes on 3rd Street from Sunnydale. And, you know, everybody after something happening, whether it's a party, whatever, you sitting around talking about it, I did that. And blah, blah, blah. And they hit the corner. And they just started letting off rounds. And I got hit in the eye. As soon as I turned and looked and heard the car screech around the corner, as soon as I turned and looked, got hit in the eye. And it was crazy. Right after that, as soon as I got out the hospital, house got raided. They caught me with like about 9 guns, you know, like 3 ounces of coke. And I was on my way to YA. And you know, I was a young dude with money, was able to get myself to this boys ranch called Log Cabin, and went up there. And they did a year program, was able to get out, and that's when I ended up changing. That's when I got into music. But it was funky. But also too, that first album that brought the truce between us, because I ended up calling over to Fillmore to one of the dudes who was reputable over there. You know, I called my boy Nard Temple from my side. He's a reputable. I got him, and I was like, man, you know, I'm trying to do this music thing. I'm trying, you know, I can't do it without Fillmore and Sunnydale and all them. So I'm like, I want to call a little truce. And he's like, Black, I'm with you, whatever you want to do. So I reached out. My boy Lonnie Green, he was part of the strutting crew called Demons of the Mind. And one thing about him is he was from Fillmore, but he lived in Hunters Point. And he was cool with her. We knew his mom. She'd been over there for hella years and shit. And he reached out to JT the Big Fig and all his OG homies. And I told him to come to Harbor Road. And they came up there, trusted me. And JT tell his story too online. He talk about it.
Yeah, we heard it. We heard it. He said y'all came, and then he invited y'all back to his block, and
he told exactly how it happened. That's exactly what it was. How they came up there. I could have set them up, could have did whatever, but they trusted me. Came up there, and we squashed it that day. And
that's dope. Man, and that's a different level of maturity. And I hate to draw a parallel, but honestly, that's somewhat, you could say like the Tupac situation. Him fighting dude in casino, he pulled off. You know, from the conspiracy, they saying he got caught in traffic. So, I mean, you really got a second chance. And why do you feel like a lot of drama and gun violence follows the hip-hop community?
Because where we from, you know, it's just, man, just that upbringing, being from them projects, everybody, you know, want to be He-Man, you know, it's just that bravado that we just bring to it, man. And, you know, egos. I mean, hip-hop is just different. Like you said, egos, all that. And, you know, it's just different all the way around. It ain't like rock and country and all that. You know, you can grow old in them genres of music. You know, once you start getting to 35, they start, man, you too old to be rapping. You this and that. And we don't embrace our OGs. It's just, you know, it's just hip-hop is just fucked up, man. It just definitely need a change. You know what I mean?
But we trying to do that. We trying to do the change here. That's why we trying to celebrate our greats.
Oh yeah.
You one of the greats. Everybody brought you on.
Yeah, clap it up.
Man, clap it up for real.
Especially if you got it. If you ain't rapping like Grandmaster Flash or somebody, it's like, come on, man. Like that's why I love Cody and them keeping that torch lit. You know, they rapping with the best.
Let's pivot. Let's pivot to some of the great collaborations you got.
I was on the same thing.
We even collaborated with No Limit, Master P. Our last song just did 10 million views online. Same chick, Master P was in the video. He did a lot to help us out. You did a song with Master P, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So how was that? West Coast Bad Boys. I'm gonna tell you something. I was 8 when it came out. I went to Florida, and that's all we played. West Coast Bad Boys, back to back to back to back to back.
Right.
And that song and the song that Dangerous Dame did was my favorite songs on there.
Yeah. We were supposed to do a solo song, man, but Mr. C was kind of bullshit, man, and didn't kind of like, he really didn't want to do nothing with, because Mr. C was really a lyricist. He didn't want to associate himself with you if he didn't really like you musically or whatnot. And I was a hustler. I'm like, man, if dude got a bag, you know, Mr. P like, man, I got 5 bands for y'all. I'm trying to get you. I'm like, come on, let's do it, Mr. C. Man, Mr. C was like, man, I don't want to be on that compilation. It's gonna be Boosie, man. Mr. P don't rap tight. He wrote this and that. He didn't really want to do it. So we're supposed to do a song, but what happened was Master P ended up booking a session at the same studio where we was working on our album at, and his session was next. And on our way out, he was coming in. He like, Black, what's up, man? Y'all ready to do it? And I was happy. He caught me right there with Mr. C because he was telling me, yeah, I'm ready to do it. I'm like, let's do it. I got a song. He said it's too late. He said it's too late to get a song from y'all, but man, I got a song I think you're gonna like, man. It's called Trying to Make $1 Out of 15 Cents. And I'm like, man, I'm with it. I'm like, yeah. He said, man, I'll give y'all 4,000. I'm like, all right. And Mr. C was still acting a little. He said, Mr. C, what's up? You ready? And Mr. C was just like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm happy Master P got his ass right here. He was trying to get us out of it.
With someone like out of your district, basically. Was that hard for Mr. C too, considering that he wasn't from that area?
It wasn't really where he was from. Mr. C he just was one of those East Coast. He was in the lyrics, like he was into the Big Daddy Kane.
He wanted a good quality song. He ain't care about that. I
like that song, man.
He thought the compilation was gonna be weak, you know. Yeah, it was dope. The song wasn't, but once we heard the song when Master P played it, I was willing to get on whatever. It didn't matter to me. I was a hustler, but Mr. C heard it. He was like, "Oh, I seen the space light up," and he was like, man, that's dope. I'm ready to get on that. Like, man, he started getting to his pen and pad and started knocking it out. You know, so we ended up knocking that out, man. And man, it was a blessing to get on that song. I'm happy it happened the way it did because that song was dope. I don't know. We probably would have came with something clean, but that one right there, man, is just a classic. Just to be able to do something with P because he moved on to be bigger and better. So, you know, we got that on our resume now.
And then even the feature with Mystical.
Hold on, I'm gonna stay with P. I'm gonna stay with P because they didn't just do West Coast Bad Boys 1. They did West Coast Bad Boy 2. And I ain't gonna lie, that's my favorite song on West Coast Bad Boy 2.
Is that right?
Yeah, you can call it what you want, but we call it the funk. Call it what you want to. Call it what you want to. And I love that's One Love, that's 40. That's, you know what I mean? That's Burke. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had to bring Biddy back because nobody was fucking with him because, you know, I guess he so-called came out the closet and whatnot. And I didn't give a fuck about that. I said, man, you know what I mean? That ain't gonna bother me. You know what I mean? Whatever you do in your private life is what you do. Biddy is a legend to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that nigga got a voice.
Man, had a voice. I loved the way him and Be Legit songs, City to City.
Yeah.
And all that shit. And it's just like, bro, he's so many classics. I'm like, I'm trying to do something with you, bro. And he's like, man, I'll be over there tomorrow. I'm like, man, come through. I got a song I'm trying to do. I need you on. I said, I did a little rough. I just want you to flip it. And it's for West Coast Bad Boys 2. And he was like, I'm there. And yeah, he came over. It was a classic. And we ended up releasing it as a single in Canada and ended up getting us a nice little plaque and stuff for it. It did real good out there in Canada. You know what I mean?
Man, that's
called... I want to ask him this though.
Go ahead.
Speaking of like taking advantage of opportunities and not judging people in this industry, how important do you feel like it is to make connections with people and be a businessman before rapping?
Oh man, that's how I lasted. You gotta build bridges. You don't, man. I don't burn no bridges in this industry. Even like we're in a minute, you know, even though we fell out with Jason, I was still cool with Jason. Even though we went through at Atlantic Records, I always tried to stay cool with Mike Karen and them. You know, you don't want to burn no bridges because you never know when you might need them again. You might get walking back need a distro again or whatever, man. You know, it's business. You know what I mean? And if you know your business and you got lawyers, it shouldn't be no problem. You know what I mean? You just got to have somebody doing your paperwork. But I make sure my Rolodex is real nice, and anybody I done did business with, you know, is they gonna welcome me back. You know, to this day, anybody, whether studios, artists I done dealt with, they ain't gonna talk bad about Black.
Right. Speaking of lawyer, now I gotta throw this out there. When do you feel like it's necessary to get a lawyer in your career, involved in your career? At what point? ASAP? Like ASAP Rocky?
ASAP.